top, I always tend to come in and I kind of force with this part of my thumb the clay right to the middle. Okay, that'll also help to prevent that divot on the top.
So you kind of push with your whole hand.
Coming down? Yeah.
Okay, I was doing it with sideways.
You know what? If it works, then it's fine. I mean, there's not really any like one way of doing it. There's not a single rule that says you have to do it this way. And again, if you had 5 different, people come in here and throw, they probably throw differently, slightly, and so yeah, I mean, using your palm. Some people use their, make a little fist and do it this way. That, to me, is not quite as comfortable. But yeah, using the side of your hand is fine. And then let it carry all the way down to the base. Just make sure that you're keeping the wheel head clean. I mean, not so much as this wet slip, but any large amounts of clay down here, you want to make sure you're cleaning off, because your hand can't ride evenly and smoothly out here with a lot of clay. Thank you.
And you're right.
What is the thickness of it?
Again, it's about,
Can you see?
yeah, it's about 3/8, between 1/4 and 3/8. Again, keep these wet. You want to make sure they don't go beyond leather hard, because I'm going to show you how to trim them in another week or two. Once you all have some and they get leather hard, so keep them wrapped up. I'll show you how to turn them over and trim them, and then we'll be doing some decorating on them. Curl under, and that'll create your corner.
You're actually going inwards.
Well, when I'm my opening is just opening this way. I'm just opening down to the depth that I want in the center, right? And it's kind of funnel shaped, right? And that'll help you keep it centered if you open it that way. If you bore a hole, just kind of go down into it like this, what happens is it brings your hand away from the clay, and all of a sudden you're relying on your thumb that's going to hold it in the center, and it's going to go off center very easily. So keep your hand here. Right. And then the last thing that I do, and then I open it this way, opening it, pulling back towards me this way, and then with my fingers I'm going to pull it back so that there's not any overhang.
So when you're pulling toward you,
yeah,
are you using your finger strength or sometimes I feel like I'm fighting to pull it towards me when I'm using a little bit more clay. Are you using fingers?
Yeah, my arms. I mean, I'm pulling my arms. Yeah, I'm using my fingers and then kind of pulling with my arms as I come across. I'm not just doing this. I'm kind of pulling my arms back towards me. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you, again, this is something that I didn't show until just recently. I started doing this with beginners, because I find that again, I had some students that were having a really hard time raising the walls, and this is a technique that I will typically not use until I'm working with fairly large pieces of clay, and that's using my knuckle. Okay, and again, I'm not using the point here, but I'm using kind of the side here, and so you're doing the same thing. You're still trying to create a point, a point of contact right here, but you're going to kind of push in here using your arm, press into the clay. Same thing, your inside hand's going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to press in with my knuckle, let the clay go up, and then come up this way.
What if you feel more comfortable with that technique without you knowing you start using it?
Why did I feel more comfortable?
No, what if you feel more comfortable with that technique? On my
Showing students?
No, from my kids I started with that. I didn't know that I was one of them.
Oh, it's just, how you gonna do it? You tried it? You just tried it? Yeah. Yeah, and again, I'll use this to move more clay when I'm working with much larger pieces. I like the control I feel like I have with my fingers, with my fingertips. But you know, I think it was just maybe a matter of strength, and I think students, you know,
Is that about 5 o'clock?
where I'm working.
Yeah, the point that you're coming.
Oh, I'm about 4. I mean, I'm looking at this here. This is 3. I'm about done here at 4. And again, that keeps my arm in. I sneak out to 2 o'clock, and my elbow comes away from my body. Okay, so again, I'll press in at the base with my knuckle. And then you're backing up on the amount of pressure that you're applying as you get to the top. And then I would generally still, even on larger pieces, I'll go back to using my fingers again. Again, for me personally, I like the control that I feel like I have with my fingertips. I have more touch than I do with my knuckle. But you know, for moving larger amounts of clay more quickly, the knuckle can be very beneficial. Getting that clay off the base, let it work its way up into the wall. And always backing off as you get towards the top. Okay,
Kind of your middle finger guided by your pointer and ring finger
on the outside?
on the inside.
Yeah. Okay, so then I've got the thickness pretty much where I want it. I'll make one more pass and kind of just straighten the walls a little bit. Now, I just want to introduce you to using a tool on the surface. You can use your rib, metal, or wooden.
What does it feel like when you're pulling up, you kind of start to lose control?
What do you do?
Yeah. Stop?
Well, you can stop anywhere in the process, anywhere along the way. I mean, sometimes you would do that if, like, say you were pulling here and you felt like the clay was starting to grab your fingers. Just try to slowly ease off the clay, because if you're coming and you're coming on the clay and you jump away, you're gonna leave a mark, right? So you always want to come off of the clay real slowly. So I'm going to use my wooden rib first, and then I'll use my metal rib, just to show you that there's a slightly different quality. It's a little bit thicker surface, so it's not going to leave quite the same surface as the real thin metal rib is going to leave. But you can use this. I'm angling this in the direction that the wheel's going. I don't want to come back this way because I'll jab into the pot. So going in the direction that the wheel's going. You can clean up the surface. And you just got to decide, what do you want to do up here? Do you want to leave a mark, or do you want it to not have a mark? If you want it to have a mark, you just got to continue to press.
You apply pressure in the inside?
Yeah, I'm pushing against the rib. I'm kind of holding this steady, but I'm pushing against the rib, right? So that leaves, that cleans the surface up quite a bit, but it's not going to be quite as clean, again, as the metal rib, because the metal rib is a much thinner surface. So if I were to then move to the metal rib, put the metal rib on the surface. I get it, fairly surface. let any water on the base. All right, any questions before you go back to work?
I do have one.